Nest Wealth launched as the first digital wealth advisor in Canada back in 2013, and we launched strictly as a direct-to-consumer robo-advisor. We were populist. We were the interloper kind of trying to change the industry from the outside in. We were the standard disruption stuff, and today we are the largest independent digital advisor in Canada, but perhaps more relevant to our business as a whole is that we actually have a technology platform that powers the digital wealth solutions of a lot of firms across Canada and two of the largest 6 banks in Canada. So you might be wondering how we got here from there, how we went from trying to break the industry down from the outside to actually supporting the ones that are within the industry today. Let me try and explain that in the next 3 minutes and 47 seconds. There is no such thing when you're running a startup as overnight success. There is no such thing as mistakes, with the rare exception that can cripple you and put you down on the mat forever. But what there are singular moments where the decisions you make are going to tilt the odds one way or the other dramatically as to whether you're going to come out of this thing wearing roses or not. And the only problem with those moments are you can only see them in hindsight. Everything seems like one of those moments. So what I did was I went through the 5-year journey and I said, these are the 3 moments and the lessons that we learned from them that I hope I can help you guys with if you see anything familiar. So here's 2013 to 15. We start up. Things are going okay. Not great, okay. Cost of customer acquisition in digital wealth is way higher than we anticipated it was. It's way higher than we anticipated it was going to be. And it's not coming down, and we thought it was going to come down. We're not the only game in town anymore. There's a company called Wealthsimple that's out there, and they announce on my birthday, which to this day I think is still intentional. They announced on my birthday that they've gone to Power Corp and they've raised a round of $30 million, which was absolutely unheard of for a startup in our country at that time. Clearly, the environment had changed for us, and the next day, we were only about 6 or 7 people. We walk into the office, and we gather around a table, and it really is a chance to figure out what we were going to do at this point. We had raised no money. And you can imagine the initial reaction, if not tears and gnashing of teeth, was a little depressed. And as we sit down to have this conversation, we can't, because the phone won't stop ringing. And for that day and that week, every single financial institution in Canada that we had reached out to try and get a discussion going on digital wealth has all of a sudden decided that it's important to return our call to find out what just happened with Wealthsimple. So right away, we kind of recognize, and this is the clearest indication of how you have to think about it as you're going on in a startup, good news for your competitor doesn't always mean it's bad news for you. In fact, there is a saying that the enemy of my enemy isn't a friend. We don't have enemies in startup world, at least not publicly. But the way you paraphrase that saying in our world is those that are more fearful of your better financed, better known competitor are also your most likely customers at the start. And we quickly realized that. So here's what we did. Going on that, we sit down and we recognize that the bigger opportunity for us is now figuring out how to help the companies that are threatened by digital wealth. So we take a step back and we say, we're gonna rip apart our platform. We're gonna go B2B. This is how we want to compete. This is where we want to go. The problem is it didn't take us any time at all to realize that what we'd actually built was completely incompatible with B2B in any shape or size. It wasn't enterprise capable. It wasn't a solution that they would buy. We were 6 or 7 people, so we didn't quite know what we were going to do. And we decided that contrary to everybody's advice, because everybody we asked about the B2C business that we had up and was nascent, told us to shut it down. VC said we aren't going to be able to fund you because you're too confusing. Contract said we aren't going to be able to buy you because you might have a competitive product. Others said it's just not going to show a focus that we need to have. But as a founder from the inside out, we realized that it was the only thing generating revenue for us at the time. And when you're in that position, it's true that you have to make decisions, but you don't always have to make heroic decisions. And we decided to keep it going because it was generating the revenue that was paying the bills, and no one felt like going back to square one. So lesson number 2, you really don't need to be a hero to be heroic. Your biggest problems, the ones that you're most worried about executing on because other people might think it looks weird, the ones that keep you up at night, like being a B2C and a B2B company at the exact same time, the one that you circulate around the table time and time again because you can't figure out what the right answer is, no one else cares. No one else gives a shit about that stuff. No one else is paying attention to you. Do what's right for your company at that moment in time. Yes, it is absolutely true. One day when we go out and raise a huge round, if we decide to do that, VCs might look at us and say, I don't get it. You're B2B and B2C, but the truth is, no one's ever told us that up till now. It's true that one day we might have a corporate account that says, I'm not signing with you because you're a competitor, but the truth is, no one's ever said that to us until today either. And it's true that they might say you guys don't demonstrate focus, but that's not true once you get to know us and the team. Put theoretical problems aside. Worry about them when they actually come to your front doorstep and you have to worry about them. There is not a person in the world that knows your business better than you do, so don't do things for what you think they're going to be perceived to do. Do things because they're going to be the right thing to do. Finally, I'm running through this because 5 minutes is really, really short. From 2016 to 2018, we actually became that B2B company. As I mentioned, it now represents the majority of our business. The Nest Wealth Pro platform is a huge success by any measure, and things are going well. We were working super hard. We were running as fast as we can to keep up with demand. And the one thing that we never really stopped to recognize is that between 2016 and 2018, we weren't the same company that we started out to be. So in 2014, we wanted to shake the industry up from the outside. In 2018, we were providing the platform to the large banks to support themselves in the industry as they were going forward. And that really confused us as a company. And I'm going to tell you something that I really haven't told people before. Everybody says having a mission is absolutely critical. The truth is, I believe it. I don't think I ever had it at the top of my list of priorities. But for that period of time, when we used to say our mission statement is to crack this industry wide open and change it, and then we go back to JIRA tickets and recognize that we were selling products and fixing bugs for the very people that were running the industry, we realized that we just couldn't be inauthentic to the employees of the company, and we put the mission statement kind of on the back burner. And in retrospect, it made everything tougher. It made hiring tougher. It made picking a path tougher. It made decisions tougher. It made allocating resources tougher. Until one day, 2 years in, we kind of recognized that the mission had evolved under us. And that's the third and final lesson that I'm going to talk about. And it's this one. Sometimes the opportunity creates the mission. And as we kept pushing this product that we were so proud about, this platform that was changing the way that firms talked with their clients to the status quo, we really began to recognize that by doing the things we were doing, by forcing them to be more transparent, by forcing them to be more reactive, by forcing them to demonstrate the value they were providing to their client base, by building the tools that they were forcing themselves to use with their clients, and by refusing to put things like opaqueness and a lack of transparency and a high fee and a complicated methodology into it, we were actually changing the industry from the inside out. There are two ways you become a mission-driven company. One is, one day you wake up and you say to yourself, it is so important to be right. And there's a saying that you can be right or you can be happy. So one day you wake up and you say to yourself, I have a mission, I'm going to bend this world to my mission. And the other way, you look at the world around you and you find the opportunity and you speak and listen closely to it, and you find a way to make that part of it a little easier. One way super hard, the other way is a real way to success. Thanks, guys. Do I have questions? Any? All right.
Oh, going over here. Appreciate the talk. So, based on what I heard, it also sounds like there's a lot of opportunity that could come your way, and you also have to decipher which opportunity to consider, which not to. How do you balance that? How do you make your decisions?
It's a great question. There's a lot of mantras that you read about that I'm not sure hold true for a lot of companies that are still trying to figure out who they are. Like, stay focused, say no to a lot of stuff, be one thing only. And in reality, we've built a platform that's kind of any investor to any product, any investor through any distribution channel, which opens up a lot of opportunities for us. And what we do now is we make sure we used to kind of develop code and then push it out the door. And there's a lot of problems with that because the odds that you have figured this thing out and the arrogance and kind of egotism that you have to think that inside your four walls, you know what the solution to the problem is kind of high. So we've changed it. At Nest Wealth now, a finger doesn't touch a keyboard to develop until we have certainty that we've built a product that someone's actually going to pay us for. So the whole problem is we give problem statements. We can try and solve any problem statement because to assume that we actually know the problems that need to be solved is kind of egocentric as well. So we'll take stabs at different problem statements as long as they have the characteristics of they're significant, they're secular throughout the whole industry. And then we have a process that we run through where we get to the point where we have almost 100% certainty that there's a revenue generating product that someone's agreed to purchase on a SaaS enterprise license from us, at which point the development can kind of begin at that stage. I don't believe that you know which ones you should stay focused on within the four walls of your organization. I believe you go out there with the problems and the solutions and you see what sticks and what doesn't.